All right, guys. Nice to meet you. So today we're going to start our intern panel for the developers program, and I'm going to be interviewing two, kind of like getting to know two different interns. And so our first panelist is Vishal Sarda. If you can
Yeah,
like introduce yourself really quick,
yeah,
briefly.
sure. Hello everyone. My name is Vishal. So I am a computer science graduate student at Stony Brook University. So this is I am done with my 2 semesters at the university, and now I will be interning in the Microsoft Teams team. You might be hearing a lot about the Teams product now because of the remote learning and all. So I will be interning in that team. And prior to coming here, I have a prior work experience of 3 years as a software developer back in India. So yeah, that's about my introduction.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then our second panelist will be Ira. Yeah, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Ira. I'm currently in my undergrad. I'm about to be a senior at UT Austin. I study computer science and art history there, and I'm going to Microsoft this summer to be a program management intern with the Microsoft Partner Center team, which is basically I'll be on a team that specifically deals with how businesses can buy cloud storage and working with the billing center for that.
Cool. Awesome. Both Microsoft interns. Yay. Okay, so our first question for you is like, how did you get into computer science, and like maybe you want to share some tips on like ways you were able to kind of like break into like tech, especially in college, since it's very hard for students to kind of learn the pathways to that. So
So I will start with saying my way back home in India. So let's say if I was in school, there is still not that much craze about hackathons and coding clubs, even right now in India. It starts happening after you like pass 10th grade and then you go into the plus one and plus two classes. So
mhm.
for me, it was 10 to 12 years ago from now. So there was a basic computer course that I was studying. And what amazed me was like you can simply code machines to do what you want. You can just automate things.
Mhm.
And like you can, so like 12 years ago, there was not, if we compare it with now, there has been a lot of progress in the automation fields and now. So like at that time, I was amazed like what all this technology into the computer science field can do in the future. So that was one of the things that was like a peak point for me to get interested into the computer science field.
Mhm.
And then yeah, so as my like education went after 10, and then I got into the computer science stream, and then after that I got enrolled into an undergrad engineering college, and from that like it's going on and on. So yeah, that has been one of the like stories of how I got interested into computer science.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Really enjoyed like hearing that. Era, what about you?
Yeah, I am. So I didn't really think I would end up being a CS major. I kind of went through high school thinking I would be a biology major and be like pre med. And I didn't start learning how to code until my senior year of high school when I just had like an empty spot left in my schedule and I signed up for my school's CS class just to fill it. I really didn't think that much of it. And I ended up really liking it. And I realized at that point, like when I was applying to college, maybe like biology wasn't really for me. And I had kind of just like thought I would do it, but I never really considered like, is that a track I would be really very happy in? And then
Mhm.
I applied for CS just like that. I honestly hadn't learned that much about it at the time I was applying. It was just like something I was kind of taking a bit of a gamble on, but I ended up really liking it once I got to school. And a lot of the thing that kept me in CS was just getting like finding a really strong community around it once I got to college. So I found a bunch of different orgs at my school and like just support in that. And that encouraged me just to stay along with it. So yeah, yeah.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, that's a really cool stories of how you guys got in to CS. So our next question is, what is like your current job like? And I know like some of you haven't started an internship, so a lot of you are still in school. So feel free to like discuss a little bit of both, or just more of like the student side would be great. So
Yeah.
Vishal.
So just as I mentioned that like before coming here at Stony Brook University, I have had kind of worked for 3 years, and now I am a student, so I will just combine both of them experiences. So as a like computer science professional, your job is like just in layman's terms, like planning. If you are from a product company, if you're
Mhm.
working in a product company, so there will be a certain kind of product, and for that there will be a certain kind of feature that you will be told to work on, build on. So like before you start working on, there's a kind of brainstorming, like what could be the best approach to kind of tackle this and then develop like a good feature.
Mhm.
And after, even after you develop the feature, there will be kind of cycles of like filtering the features, improving it, and lot. So like in a nutshell, basically this is the like kind of life of a software engineer.
Mhm.
And coming to the college student life, so like it has been quite busy for me right now. So
Right.
like I will have to tackle 4 subjects in each other semester. So I will say since it has been 3 years I was working, so I was kind of off the track of the learning track. So it
Right.
took me some time to adjust to the learning thing, but yeah, currently I'm like kind of well settled, I will say, into my studies, and like I have almost finished my studies. So yeah, just looking to finish it up and then start a new job maybe.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Hope you're doing okay with
Yeah,
settling in like the remote space. But
yeah.
Ira, what about you?
Yeah, so I didn't start Microsoft until next week, so I can just talk about places I've interned in the past. The things that I've really taken away from that, I did 2 software engineering internships in the past, so that kind of going off what Michelle said, it's a lot of just like drafting and then keep building on those drafts until um, you kind of finalize a feature. And what I've learned is that takes a very long time. Like going into those roles, I was like, oh, this is just going to be like knocked out in 2 weeks. But it's really not like that because you do so much testing
Mhm.
that this process of like going through all these different drafts and like starting with the design and getting to that final product ultimately takes several months to
Mhm.
roll that feature out. And I think it's also really interesting because something I've learned in that process is that there's a lot of different roles involved other than the engineer. So in
Right.
the past, I've only ever done that engineering role, and this summer is the first time I'm going to try something else. So I'm going into product management, which is more of like a business and design role as well. So I
Mhm.
think it's really cool that once you have like a really strong foundation in CS, you can look at other things and see like there's product design and like UI UX, and there's a lot of business to it as well.
Mhm.
So there's a lot you can do with that CS degree once you have it, or that CS foundation once you have it. And then looking more at the college student side of things, um, I in the past couple semesters have been a little rough with classes. I do think usually my CS classes are the more challenging classes I take,
Mhm.
but in that regard, um, just once again, like having a very strong community of people that I get to work with and like get to bounce ideas off of has been really good. And
Mhm.
it's also just like even in industry, you're not ever completely alone when you're working on a product. You're working with a team of people, and like collaborating and being able to communicate very effectively with people is very important. And
Mhm.
I think that applies a lot to college as well. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate that you guys mentioned like the project process, because like the kids in our program, they're actually going to do like a hackathon in their week 7 and week 8, where they propose like a project and try to work on it with their mentors in the last 2 weeks. So it's good to hear a lot about like projects in the real world are like very similar in that tone, where you need to prepare and all of that. Okay, and then so the next question I have is, what is the most challenging part about studying computer science? So I know you guys are like fresh off the boat, still in school. So what would you say would be like the hardest part?
So hardest part I would say is computer science is kind of continuously evolving field.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like if you stick to one field, like you will be able to survive obviously in this field, but it's like keep on learning new things and keep on accumulating knowledge, and then also at the same time apply it in your job or into the project. So that will keep you quite acquainted with the latest happenings in the world of computer science. And another thing that applies to, I think, every field is like keep on learning.
Mhm.
Don't limit yourself. Like, yeah, I'm satisfied with this. So yeah, that's it. Because like there will be many people around you which you can learn from, but if you are not willing to learn from, then you are like at a loss, I would say. So that is one of the most challenging part about computer science.
Yeah, wow. I really agree with that statement. It's like, gotta keep learning. Like, I know like CS is really hard to learn, so it's great that to hear that. Ira, do you have any?
Yeah, I think one of the things that was mentioned at my freshman orientation in college is this thing called imposter syndrome, where you kind of think you're not like as cut out for this field as everyone else. But it's one of those things I think a lot of people go through when they're in college and when they're studying CS.
Yeah.
So it's really important just to mitigate that. And I think I've become a lot better at dealing with that compared to where I was freshman year. Because I think because CS education around the US is so, I guess it's not very standardized, and like some schools have programs and some schools don't. When you get to college, it feels like at the beginning, everyone's on a very different
Mm.
level of knowledge. And I felt like I had just started coding, and then I was like looking around at my classmates, and these people had already made apps and everything. And I remember feeling very stressed out and like comparing myself to them. But that is a really unhealthy mindset, and
Mhm.
you just have to remember that like you're there for a reason, because like someone does think you're capable of studying this, and eventually like you're going to learn what you need to learn to be successful in the field. So just remembering that and not allowing yourself to be that worried about it, and just knowing that it's going to end up okay.
That's true. Yeah,
So
I really.
I just wanted to add one thing.
Mhm.
So the thing that I mentioned and that Ira mentioned, so like the viewers might find them like quite contradictory. So I just mentioned that there are many people around you into the computer science field whom you can learn from. And Ira
Mhm.
also mentioned that you shouldn't feel like you don't know anything and other people are like they have a lot of knowledge into this field. So what
Mhm.
you need to do is kind of strike a correct balance between both the things, so that you are not even overwhelmed about what other people know that you don't know about, but at the same time you also learn what you don't know from them. So
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
for
really
sure.
agree with that. Yeah, there's so many like this camp is like specifically for 6th to 10th graders, and within that, there's just so much range of experience that it's like really hard to like find like the right community. But we're trying to kind of like enable that by like creating a community of mentors and supporters to support them. So thank you for bringing that up. So the next question is, how are you dealing with remote work and like the setting of working like remotely? And I ask that because a lot of students are like learning by themselves, and since this is very like driven as like a self-guided program where you would have to reach out to mentors and instructors for help, like how would you like, do you guys have any advice about that? um,
So about remote work, I will say that it is now a reality. So you just have to accept it. But what you need to do is, since it is a remote, you also need to see some advantages of that. So
mhm,
let's say like you can reach out to anyone. So let's say if you had some class which you wanted to go, so it will be at specific time that you want to go, right? That you need to go. But since it is now online, you will get lectures, recorded lectures, which you can
mhm,
see at any time at your ease. And if you need to like revise them, you can see them again. So same thing goes with the remote work also. I will say that although it will take some time to like adjust, but like if we take this as an opportunity, so it is also not bad than the
that's,
ones we had. So, yeah.
that's great to hear. Ira, do you have any advice?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything Michelle just said. Like there are definitely advantages to it.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I struggled a lot to adjust. Just from a social perspective, I really miss like getting to see people every day, and I really enjoy working around other people and like talking about what everyone's working on. So
Mm-hmm.
that was hard for me. But I think it's important, if you're also feeling that way, to just make sure to stay connected to other people. Like call your friends, call people that you're working with or who you have classes with, and like talk about what you're doing, because I think that also is just a really good way to, if you're stuck on something, talking through it with someone else or talking through it with like a mentor you have or someone in this program can help you overcome that. And it also just, I think it's really easy when you're working remotely to feel kind of isolated from people you're working with. So making sure that doesn't happen is also very important. And yeah, I think when you're reaching out to someone you don't know remotely, the first time is always the hardest, but once you get over that initial barrier, it only gets easier. So kind of just forcing yourself to step out of that comfort zone and like reach out to more people can be really beneficial.
I agree. Wow. Thank you for those tips. So we're going to move on to the next question here. Is like, do you have any advice for students going into STEM? So these are kids who are like starting off learning, like starting to get into their tech careers. So it's exciting. And like, how would you guys like approach them with advice, if you have any?
So I will say that STEM field is like kind of ever evolving, and you will see like every day you will see many more persons out there who are like willing to help you out of their own. Like you if you ask them, they will definitely. So one of the main advantages of the STEM field is it's quite a good community.
Mhm.
So it's not like you are alone and you are just told to learn this and that. So if you are stuck at something, I will just like give an advice to like ask someone who knows that there's nothing wrong in asking for anything that you don't know. So yeah, that is one of the advice I would like to give.
Yeah, I really like that advice. Ira, do you have any?
Yeah, I also love that advice. I think just finding other people who you can learn with is so important. And I think now, especially, well, since y'all are already in this program, that's like such a great initiative already that you're taking to learn about STEM. But there's just so many resources available now online, which is incredible. And like seeking those out and just kind of staying really hungry for as much information as you can learn is so important. And just, yeah, just enjoy it and like find people who also enjoy it and find that community.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, these are really good advice that I like. I wish I had some when I like started STEM too. So it's definitely like hard, but with like the right mindset and the right community of people to help you support you through that is really great. Okay, so we're kind of ending with our last question. So if you could tell yourself something when you were like maybe a sixth, 10th grader, like what would it be and why? I was just wondering.
So I think I will say to my minier version would be kind of learn and like don't stop learning. And if you're trying to get into the computer science field, then obviously code, code, and code. So it's not like any specific language that you need to learn. If you know the logic. So let's say
Right.
if you're trying to solve a problem, if you know the logic,
Mm-hmm.
just think it in layman's terms first, and then pick up any one programming language, and then just try to solve it. And it's okay then, like as I said previously, it's okay to fail, but what is not okay is just trying to kind of limit yourself and then not pushing yourself to do more things and to learn more things. So yeah, because like for me, learning is like kind of never ending process. So don't
Mm-hmm.
limit yourself, and yeah, go on.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy hearing that because like a lot of students actually ask like, what's the best language to learn? And I would say like it's always just a fundamental logic of
Yeah,
understanding how
correct.
code works, and that really builds off. So thank you. And Ira, do you have any advice?
Yeah, I would tell myself just not to be scared of failing at things and just not be scared of being rejected from different opportunities because that's going to happen and it's going to happen a decent amount. But it's like you really need to focus on the things that you get into and the things you accomplish and build from there and just keep applying to as many opportunities as you can and just go with what happens and like really push yourself to learn as much as you possibly can, which is very much along the same advice of Vishal. But I think just staying like just really trying to learn as much as you can in that like 6 to 10th grade time frame, like if you do that, that is incredible and that's gonna like really give you a lot of knowledge and like a really great foundation for when you go to college if you want to study CS.
True. Yeah, I really agree. Yeah, a lot of students like they might have experience, but without like practicing and being consistent with your work, it's very hard to like build that skill off later. And so thank you for mentioning that. It was super helpful and like really great to hear both of your advices. So this is kind of wrapping up our panel for today. So we just want to like extend a thank you because like you guys are taking the time off of like your day to dedicate to these like students, and just being able to share advice is really something that they don't get to do, especially at like this time. And so like yeah, we really appreciate you from our team. And yeah, thank you so much. That's all for today. Thanks for joining in, and stay tuned for the next Career Friday.